Okay, good morning, people. It's Simon Trezellian here, the voice of reason, and today I want to follow on with the Trump effect as to what is happening on a geopolitical point of view. As we saw this day one, Putin wants to come to the table, wants to stop the war. Hamas wants to come to the table, wants to stop the war. Qatar has offered to deport the Hamas leaders. Yeah, big stuff there. China says it wants a peaceful coexistence. I mean, we're just waiting for Iran to say, okay, guys, you won. It's going to be an interesting time. Let's talk about China today, because there is going to be some massive change in regards to how we deal with China. I know that there's a lot of fear mongering saying that tariffs are going to put everything up. It just means that production is going to shift to the United States. It's going to be more of a isolationist policy, so that if you make the stuff that people need, especially in the realms of like electronics, superconductors, stuff like that, then you don't need to import them. Then it doesn't mean anything when there's a dock strike or anything like this. There's no lag in the supply chain. You just make everything in country, and America is the size of Europe, and there's probably just as many different types of nationalities and the way that people think as well. Anyway, so let's have a look at China. So China has obviously been rattling its swords in regards to Taiwan. Now, can China take Taiwan? Absolutely it can. Can it do it easily? Absolutely not. So even though it's a small island, it's incredibly well fortified. You've got to remember, these guys have had like 40 years to think about this. They know that China wants to do them harm. They know that China has a huge army, a bigger navy, big air force. But what I think people don't seem to realize is that that small piece of water between China and Taiwan may as well be the whole of the Pacific Ocean, because the Chinese, in order to take Taiwan, they can't just bomb it. They've got lots of missiles, and they can actually deluge the place with missiles. Taiwan has missile defense, of course, probably not enough to be able to make the difference. So any conflict between China and Taiwan will start with a massive missile barrage. And we've seen what Iran did, and China have been looking at this, trust me. They've been looking at the way that Israel and the Allies got together and basically shot down 98% of the missiles. China can see that happening to themselves as well. You got to remember as well, they have a coastal navy. They do not have the type of navy that the Americans have. So a lot of corvettes, a lot of coastal shipping, that type of thing. And for Chinese to land troops on Taiwan, they only have as many landing ships to have 40,000 troops. That's it. That's all they can have. It doesn't matter that the Chinese have like a 2 million man army. If you can only load 40,000 of them onto ships to get them to Taiwan, that's how many you've got. That's not enough. And guess what? Not all those ships are going to get there. Okay, so the U.S. Submarine fleet and just the fleet in general, they will decimate those ships as soon as they leave China. Very few of them will actually land on the beaches. And in Taiwan, there's only 4 beaches that they can actually land on. Do you not think that those beaches are well fortified? Mined, it will be like a bigger Normandy. It will just massacre any troops that come onto those. Yes, they could fly airborne troops in, but again, there's only so many they could put in. And there's only so many places that you can actually land in Taiwan. All of those will be targeted by artillery. It will just be a complete bloodbath. So even if the Chinese even got there, and then it's a case of trying to hold it as well. Can you imagine the amount of resistance there would actually be in Taiwan? So I think it's a dream that Xi Jinping has. He's very much like Putin. He wants an expanded China. He wants to hold on to everything that China has. He's seen the expansion into Hong Kong and Macau. They kept their grip on Tibet. But you've got to remember as well that there's other places that China wants, and that's in Russia, okay, Kamchatka, which is where the Russian Pacific Fleet is. All of that is still basically China. They lost it in the Russo-Sino War. Sino-Russo War. Um, Basically, during the Second World War, they lost a lot of territory, and they still have a claim on it. They want it back, and I think that Xi Jinping is just waiting for Putin to blink or to be distracted with Ukraine and the West, for China just to walk in there, and they can. They would absolutely be able to just walk in there, cancel all agreements, take over the naval facilities, and then build up the Chinese Navy from there on. So China has a real problem in a number of areas. Okay, so because it does not have an ocean-going navy, they want to try and secure the South China Sea, because that's the only way you can get into China as well. Now, China imports 90% of its energy. You know, things like gas and electricity, that they have to import that. So if they ever go to war with anyone, they will effectively be blockaded. So what they will have is what they've got. That's it. So I don't see that that's going to help them at all. The other big thing about China as well, which most people don't talk about, is that it's a failing country. Because they had many years of this one-child policy, because they were growing so fast, they only have males, you know, because there was a massive infanticide system going on, because culturally male children are favored more than female children. If you only got the choice of one, you're going to opt for a boy. And that's what happened for many years, and it's led to one of the most incredible population problems in the world. So a vast majority of Chinese are over 45, so they won't be giving birth anymore. The birth rate is plummeting, and what that means is there's going to be less people to fight wars, less people to work, more people to sustain in their old age, more people to drain their health services. It's going to be a nightmare. I've heard tell that by 2040, the Chinese state will be a failed state. Now, is it going to go away? Of course not. There's too many people there. But it will exist in a different form. Okay, so by that stage, there will probably be an overthrow. But before that time, these special autonomous regions, these SARs that they've set up, they set up with Hong Kong because they had to after the 1994 agreement with the British. Hong Kong will go its own way. Macau will go its own way. And I think Shanghai also will go its own way. They have become so strong, so politically and economically powerful in their own right. They don't need communism. They really don't. At that point, I think that the Uyghur areas to the west of China and Tibet will go away. The Mongolian areas of China will cease to be part of Chinese, and they'll withdraw back to what used to be called the Han Dynasty. So the Han Chinese are by far the largest cultural group in China. And just go onto the net and pump in Han China, and you'll see the map. You'll see how it will decrease. And that's what I think is going to happen to China. It will become a very much smaller country, very less influential, and all the stuff that we currently give to China, which has essentially over the last 60 years given them their money and their abundance, all of that will go to Korea. Okay, so Chinese have not a great deal of innovation. They're very good at copying, they're very good at stealing, they're very good at making things that other people have made, whereas Korea, especially South Korea, has massive innovation. They make their own cars, they make their own smartphones, TVs, fridges, you name it. You know, Samsung, Kia, you know, I mean, all of them, Hyundai, LG, I mean, all of those brands that we know and respect are Korean. So you're going to see Korea probably linking in with Vietnam to take up the strain of all forms of manufacturing. Tech manufacturing and things like that will probably be going to India. So there is a lot of replacement. And I think that the tariffs that Trump is talking about putting on China will only hurt them more, and only will increase the rapidity that China is going to fall. So China's not going to be a problem, certainly we won't be going to war with China. That wouldn't last very long at all, and they would lose quite substantially. So that's China. So that's and a few people are asking, and commenting that, you seem to know a lot about this stuff, and politics. You should go into a leadership position. Actually, I used to be one of the councillors on national security and certainly counter-terrorism to Margaret Thatcher back in the day, way back in the day, and I was responsible for a couple of operations that led to the Good Friday Agreement. So one of my claims to fame. But anyway, that's all for me for now, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Take care. This is Simon Treselian, out to you.